it should be.
Hi friends, today I'm here with my sweet friend Jenny, and we are going to do a collab of sorts. Jenny has a blog, and she's planning on embedding videos into her blogs now.
Yeah.
I have to remember, vlogs and blogs are not the same thing. But she has a blog, and I'll link it below. Her blog's name is Beautiful Blessed Living. Sweet. So if you want to check her out, you definitely should. But we kind of have like the same perspective on a lot of things, and that's why she was like one of my best friends.
It's true.
Yeah. Jenny was my maid of honor in our wedding, so that's how close of friends we are. But we just thought we'd come at you with a 2-part series here, and we were just thinking that it might be fun to do a 3rd part of the series where our husbands sit down and talk about the same topics that we're going to talk about. So that might be interesting and kind of humorous, and I think
it'd be great.
So we're gonna maybe that'll come at you too. But so we're gonna do that today. We're gonna talk about 2 topics on our vlog, and then we're gonna talk about 2 other topics on Jenny's blog. So
Yep, both will be videos, and then one of the videos will be on EJ and Andy, and then I do have a YouTube account that I'll be linking with my blog. I'll be putting the 2 together, so the first part will be on Elizabeth's channel, and the second part will be on mine, so try to check out both parts.
yeah, so we hope you like it, and we're just gonna be like really relaxed and comfortable. We don't want any of this to be...
Yeah, we are not like news anchors. Like, we are not professional.
I mean, I know we look like it right now. We have Chipotle cups. Like, we're not professional.
It's true.
So
we just like to think we are sometimes. Hey, this is true.
So our first question is pertains a lot to like what Andrew and I are going through right now, and it's really interesting to talk about it with Jenny, because Jenny has the opposite perspective of what I have on this topic, and that's having your spouse be in school. So my husband is in school. If you watch any of our vlogs, I know that you have seen that Andrew is in the process of applying for professional schools, for a dental school, and he's in the process of applying for a master's program right now. So so it has a lot of strain in our marriage, and that's probably one of the biggest things that is like very pertinent in our marriage right now, is that I'm working and he is working on other things. So but Jenny,
I had the opposite experience. So when my husband and I got married, I was still attending school full time, and I was finishing up my degree, so I was on like the end part of it, which entailed a lot of like student teaching and placements, and it wasn't like I was attending classes on a regular basis. It was more like I was actually going to these schools and teaching, but I wasn't getting paid. So, I mean, I still had all the stress of being a student on top of basically working a full-time job for free, and then having to work like a part-time job on top of it. But I had the perspective of the student that was in the marriage, so that's where we kind of had different perspectives, where she's the spouse, where my husband was the spouse providing at the time, and I would just work like a part-time job, which like covered my gas. So I had a lot of commuting on top of things, because we lived in areas that's probably like an hour drive from school. We moved one place where he worked for a school for a while, and that was still like an hour, and then moved in our current home, which is here, and this is like over an hour to where I go to school. So I know it was a lot of stress. Like, I can relate to like what stress you're under, because it was a lot of stress on my husband at the time, and I think it's hard because you don't want to make Andrew feel bad, and like I know Eric didn't want to make me feel guilty for like finishing my degree or like pursuing my passion in life. But I know it definitely like puts stress like on our marriage, because not only are you coming together as, you know, 2 different people, and you're newlyweds, and there's like all this excitement, but then like real life hits you, bam, and you wake up kind of fast, and it's definitely more of a challenge than just being done with your degree and like moving on, like not being in school. I mean, that's not including like the debt part of it. It's just even just the stress of being a student and then being newlywed.
Right.
So I can probably relate more with like Andrew on his side than I can with you, where like you would relate more with Eric. So again, I think it'd be really interesting if they had to answer these questions, because you also take on different roles. So
Right.
being a wife in, like, we have Christian marriages. So
Right.
being a wife, basically I think you believe the same thing, where, like, my husband's the head of our household. Does
Right.
not mean I'm, like, submissive in a way where I let him do what I think he wants and get away with everything, because it's not true.
No.
But it's a different role. So I would
Right.
be interested on knowing, like, how they would feel on different ends of it.
Right.
So
I think it's an interesting thing to have, just for them to be, like, I don't know. For Andrew, I think he has, like, a lot of inner turmoil, and I think it is really motivating to him to get done with school. And right now, like, I think the difference between our two situations is that, like, you had an end in sight, and you were finishing your degree, where Andrew has a college degree, but he really can't do anything with it because it's a liberal arts and chemistry, and, like, what are you going to do with that? I mean, like, what?
Yeah.
You know? And
comment below if you know what to do with that.
you have any idea what he can do with that degree, you know? And so, like, he has to go to grad school. It's motivating to him, and I think he has a lot more direction now that he is, that he has, like, a wife, you know? Like, I hate that word. I hate being, like, wife, you know? But, like, you know? But, like, he has, like, another person that's depending on him for him to finish. It's not just his own personal goals and own personal, and I think you have that too, where it was like, I have to finish this because I have to be able to contribute, you know?
Yeah, it wasn't always just, like, a pressure too of, like, the contributing factor, because at the end of my schooling, I didn't really like my degree. I didn't like my program very much, and I felt like I was just, like, running low on, like, energy.
Right.
And, I mean, I'm very thankful I had Eric, like, as much as it was stressful, and there was always, like, this, you know, like kind of inner turmoil, like, you want to help them, but you know in order to help them and, like, be equal, like, you have to finish. And that's what I think part of it was. I was glad that I had Eric, because I don't know if I would have just been like, whatever, forget it, and, like, gone and done something else.
Right.
Because my perspective changed on what I want to do at the end of my degree.
Right.
So I think there's, like, where Andrew has his, like, vision, and, like, he wants to, like, get there, where I, like, lost mine.
Right.
So I'm very thankful I had my husband to, like, remind me, like, why I started, and even if I don't go into the field that I majored in, like, it's still an accomplishment to have a bachelor's degree or to have be able to go to school. So I think, I mean, it's a great thing to kind of be the spouse who's going to school, because you do have that encouragement, like, you're the wife and you're encouraging him to, like, go after it, but it's also just like that, like, I don't know, it's like win and lose.
Right.
Because I know I felt bad not being able to contribute as much. I'm a pretty independent person. So having to depend solely on my husband for a while was really hard for me, but maybe it was, like, a lesson I had to learn.
Right.
So it definitely changed me, and it definitely changed our marriage, and it was for sure a challenge. But I think at the end of it all, I don't regret it. I would never be like, I wish I wasn't in school when we were married.
Right.
Because I just think things changed a lot for the better.
Is, like, one person working more than the other, because there's that whole thing and, like, that dependency, but, like, also a lot of your energy is put into something completely other than working, and, like,
or your marriage, or
like, it's amazing to me, because the time that I spend at home, I'm, like, doing things for home, but the time that Andrew's spending at home, he's, like, working on school and studying, and I can only see that getting to be, even this morning, like, we woke up and we were sitting in bed, and he was, like, doing flashcards on his phone. Like, I mean, like, he's kind of a nerd. I know, right? Like, I, like, got up to go make myself a cup of coffee, and I came back, and he was, like, doing flashcards. Like, that, it's just, like, what are you doing? Like, I thought we were just gonna hang out, but, I mean, it's fine, and I want him to do well, and I want him to feel successful, but, like, at the same time, it's like, well, I thought we were gonna hang out and, like, talk and do things together. So, there's definitely that, like, finding that balance that, you know, schoolwork doesn't take over our whole home life.
Yeah. I think for the most part, like, in the last year, or probably even, like, 6 months, I got a job the day before I graduated where I was student teaching. So it was a somewhat easy transition because I'd already been there, like knew most of the staff, but it was a different position than what I thought I would ever have. But I have noticed in the last 6 months I've been a lot better at like talking about balance. Is like I've been a lot better at leaving work at work, and I can work from home one day of the week, which I never really do. But I've noticed that I've been better at like stopping myself from bringing it here, and like stopping myself from even just emotionally bringing it home. Like if I don't want to talk about it because it was either boring or had a bad day, and like my job's been pretty stressful lately, I just chose not to talk about it, which took a little bit of understanding on Eric's part. But I've noticed that I've done more things, like you said, like when I'm home, I'm here and I'm like investing in our home and our marriage and our relationship and my family, and that's my focus. So, but when I was in school, I would not have done half the things, even just around my house right now that I'm looking at, like none of this would have gotten done. I love decorating, I love doing like cooking, organization, like those are all pieces I enjoy doing, but all my energy is being spent on school.
Right.
So I'm sure it's like Andrew probably would love to not be studying flashcards in bed, but it's what you do to get through to the next step.
The other question that we have for this part of the series was, what has been the hardest part about marriage? Like transition. We were talking about this in the car, and she goes, literally everything. And that
love being married.
Terrible.
It sounds terrible,
but here's the thing though. So like our friend Katie.
Hey Katie. What's her YouTube name?
Katie Borlaug, and I'll link her below as well.
Yeah.
Because she's doing Vlogtober. Woohoo!
Maybe I should do Vlogtober.
You should. Let's all do Vlogtober.
I'll try. I'm not that interesting.
Maybe I'll just call our vlogs Vlogtober, but like really.
Hey, I'll be a new series, and then we just like trickle into that.
We went up to our sorority, and so we had to drive there, which was probably like about an hour, and we were talking about it. She's like, well, how's marriage? And I literally just giggled, and she's like, I know.
We're like, all on the same page.
Like, it's like, first of all, you're humans, right? Like, people hear me say that all the time. I'm like, oh, that was such a human moment, like a mistake. Like, we are not perfect, and the only person that's perfect is Jesus, and his mother Mary, but, you know, we won't get into that. But, you know, like, we're not perfect, and putting two imperfect people together and be like, here you go, make it work, is really hard, right? All of it is really, like, you're two people with two different perspectives. We're men and women, and, you know, that's just, I mean, I went to an all-girls school. Like, I know better than anybody that, like, boys are dumb, and, like, I literally removed them from my life so I could focus. I like boys, right?
Well, you got married, so I'd say so. Hopefully.
Who does, like, yeah, like, hello, I'm 23 and I got married. Like, I like to be with boys.
Yeah.
But they are distracting, and, like, we think differently. And it's not a bad thing. Like, God created us to be different for a reason, because we bring out the best in each other. But we also bring out the worst in each other. And we've talked about that. Like, marriage is hard, and sometimes you're not proud of the way that things happen, but they happen for a reason and they make you better, right?
Yeah. Can I share a story time?
Please.
Story time. I was at school that day, and Elizabeth was finishing her degree while I was finishing mine, and I had lived an hour away, and I had been married for about a year, and she was right about a year away from being married, if not closer. No, it was a year away.
A year away, yep.
And when I was talking to her about it, I said something about how everyone tells you, and you can like this video if you've heard this before, everyone tells you that the first year of marriage is really hard. And everyone who's getting married in their brain goes, yeah, but not for me.
Right.
Every time. You're like, yeah, I love you, but you don't know what you're talking about, okay?
You don't know us.
And let me tell you, it's true. And I remember watching one of your vlogs I don't know, it was like a month ago maybe.
And I brought it up.
And you brought it up how I told you that the first year marriage is really hard.
Yeah.
And I just think it's in everyone's relationship, whether you've lived together, whether you've not lived together, whether you have like a foundation built on Christ, whether you don't. I think that first year is really hard because like what you said, it's two people, you're both different. There's no clones, so, like, you can't be marrying yourself. I mean, maybe you can someday, I don't know.
And, like, you don't want to be married to yourself
No.
because you don't like the things you don't like about yourself for a reason.
It's true. So when two people come together, like you were saying, you're two different people, you're going to make mistakes. And I think, like, the question is, what's the hardest part of being married? I think it's, like, the growing pains. I felt like it was cute and, like, fun and exciting. Like, that's, like, the honeymoon phase is, like, your childhood. And then it's, like, the first, since going into second year is, like, middle school. Yeah. And maybe it's longer for some people. Like, I know a couple that's, like, oh, it's the first year, second year, third year, fourth year. It's, like, and some couples it just takes longer.
Right.
And it's, like, the growing pains. Like, some people take longer to grow. And I feel like a lot of it's like growing pains because you're starting to grow together.
Right.
You're not in that fun childhood, like, everything's great and glorious in the wedding and, like, everything's, you know, it's like fairy tale-ish, which is great.
Shiny and new.
Yeah. But it's different when you start getting to that first, second year marriage. It's like, whoa, this is a lot of work.
Right.
And this is the part where it really annoys me, or it just, like, bothers me when people don't take marriage seriously.
Right.
And they just get married to have the wedding, or get married to get married. Because all your friends are doing it, or, oh, I'm 25, 29, whatever age you are.
We've been together for 10 years.
Yeah. And I'm not saying to never get married, because I don't think that's a good option either. I don't think being with somebody for 10 years and not actually getting married to them and acting like you're married and doing all the things married people do is a good idea. But I think marriage, I know when Eric and I have disagreements or discussions that we don't necessarily see eye to eye on, we treat them very differently now that we're married than we did when we were dating.
Mm-hmm.
And I think growing together, like, together and growing separately, it's just a lot. Because when we get married young, like, I got married at 21, I think I was married. Yeah, 22. Because I'm 25 now. And I think I was still growing as an individual.
Mm-hmm. And
so I'm still trying to figure out, like, who I am and what I want in life. And your vision definitely changes, like, post-college, and everyone's different, but you're growing individually and you're trying to grow together, which is, I think, really hard to do, because It's like, what one do I focus my energy on, myself or my spouse or us, like,
right.
And I think that's part of it, is just, like, growing together. The one thing that'll make your marriage a lot easier, and something that we're going to talk about on part 2 of it, is having, like, God in the center of your marriage.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're growing up this way with the two of you, to have him in your corner helps. Because when you're growing this way with each other, this is why this happens, the collision. Right. Did you want to add anything else to the hardest part of marriage?
I don't think so. I think marriage is just a growing experience, and I think we hit it, you know. The hardest part of marriage is that you're married forever. You know, at the end of the day, like, you chose to spend your life with this person, so hopefully you can make it work with them.
Yeah. And marriage is, like, a great thing. Like, this video
it's a beautiful thing.
It isn't to, you know, talk our spouses down. And, like, I don't want anyone to think that, because, like, we obviously love our husbands very much. And, like, I even love her husband, and she loves mine.
I know.
So it's not to say that marriage is, like, a bad thing, but there are pieces of marriage that I feel like people don't talk about.
Right.
I think... we're not saying that our husbands are awful or we hate
no.
And I don't want people to think that, and
but
I hope
also,
that you don't.
Like, we don't want to, like, shed light that, like, we don't want it to seem like our marriages are perfect.
You know,
and,
everything.
like, yeah, we're, like, the greatest at being married, and we just, you know, like, love has no problems. I know, I'm flipping my hair.
No hair.
I have this little baby hair right here that I'm...
Flip that baby hair.
But, like, you know, and I think sometimes people get sad when they see that on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when people have these perfect marriages, and it's like, why can't mine be like that? Because people aren't going to post, like, well, today was really crappy, and somebody hit my car, and my
marriage is going to crash.
Right, my husband just yelled at me.
Yeah, no one's going to post that.
No one's going to post that. They're going to post, like, look at my adorable homecoming pictures.
And
like,
I'm in the apple orchard with my family.
And I have a family, and you don't.
Like that.
Like,
that's what I would post.
You know, like, all of this great stuff, and, like, you know, that's, we don't want to make it seem like our lives are perfect, because they're not. I mean, like, look at me. I'm not perfect.
Look at me.
But we do want to be honest, and we're not trying to be negative. We're not negative people.
Nope.
It's just, we're honest, and that's, sometimes I think honesty is the best policy. So, thanks for watching. Be sure to check out Jenny's
and part 2
blog post and part 2 of our little series. And comment below if there's anything else you want us to talk about. together if you want to see our husbands talk about the same things and see their perspective on things, or if there's anything else you want to see.
It doesn't have to be on marriage either. I mean, we are cool people without being married, so.
I mean,
we actually have hobbies and like things that we like to do, so.
Not me.
Not you.
No. I don't have hobbies. Or friends.
Say goodbye to the city. I think it's time to get away.